Have you ever wondered why it's so hard to stay focused these days? Why, even though we know what needs to be done, we end up giving in to distractions, putting everything off until later? Perhaps the answer lies where you least expect it. In feudal Japan, in the lessons left by one of the greatest warriors who ever lived, Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi wasn't just a legendary samurai. He was a master of self-discipline, a man who lived with purpose, focus, and absolute control over himself. His teachings, written over 400 years ago, are still incredibly relevant today. And most impressively, they can transform your life. In this video, you'll learn how Musashi cultivated an almost inhuman discipline and how to apply these principles to overcome procrastination, control your emotions, and build the life you want with clarity and determination. Before continuing, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. This way, you won't miss any content like this, which helps you grow inside and out. Now, to understand how this all began, we need to go back in time. Let's get to know who Miyamoto Musashi really was and why his life is the best example of discipline you can follow. Chapter 1. Who was Miyamoto Musashi? Miyamoto Musashi was born in Japan in 1584, during a time of constant clan warfare. From a young age, he immersed himself in the path of a warrior, winning his first duel at the age of 13. From that moment on, his life became a series of battles, not only against other swordsmen but against his own limits. Musashi was known for never losing a single duel in over 60 encounters, but his true difference was not just his technique, it was his mind. While many trained only their bodies, Musashi cultivated absolute mental discipline. He believed that a warrior's greatest enemy was not the opponent in front of him, but the instability within himself. He lived an extremely simple life, almost like a monk. He avoided luxuries, eliminated distractions, and devoted his days to constant improvement. Late in his life, he wrote The Book of Five Rings, a manual on strategy, focus, and discipline, not just for war, but for life in general. Musashi left no room for excuses. He believed that victory was a direct result of personal discipline, and that is what makes his teachings so powerful today. If you've ever felt like you have potential but lack consistency, if you've ever sabotaged yourself out of laziness or distraction, then Musashi's story could be the turning point you need. And if this content is already making sense to you, leave a like now. This shows that you value this type of message and helps us spread it to more people who also need to hear it. After all, Musashi didn't train for motivation. He trained because it was the right thing to do. And maybe that's the turning point that's been missing in your life. Now that you know who this extraordinary man was, it's time to go deeper. Understand how exactly he used self-discipline as his greatest weapon, and how you can do the same, even if you live in a completely different world. Chapter 2. Self-discipline, Musashi's secret weapon. If the sword was an extension of Musashi's body, self-discipline was an extension of his mind. To many, discipline sounds like a heavy word, something that stifles, limits, or imposes. But to Musashi, it was just the opposite. Discipline was freedom. Freedom from being dependent on motivation. Freedom from being a slave to impulses. Freedom to do what needed to be done even when you didn't feel like it. Musashi woke early, trained rigorously, meditated, wrote, and lived simply. He saw life as a constant battleground, not against others, but against himself. Every moment was a chance to strengthen his mind, stay focused, and act with intention. And the most impressive thing, he didn't do it to impress anyone. There was no audience. There were no likes. It was a silent commitment to personal excellence. Musashi trained even when no one was watching. And that's why he won when everyone was watching. That's the essence of self-discipline, doing what's right even when no one is telling you to. Today, we live surrounded by distractions. Every notification on our phone is a trap. Every endless feed is a test of endurance. Every new series is another excuse to put off the essentials. And most of us fail these tests because we wait to be motivated to act. Musashi would never depend on that. He didn't wait to feel good to train. He trained to feel good. He didn't wait for clarity to act. He acted to find clarity. And this is where his teachings gain strength in the modern world, because he didn't just leave us beautiful phrases, he left us a model of life. Musashi's mind was as sharp as his sword. He did not allow himself to be distracted. He cut through the unnecessary with the same coldness with which he cut through his enemies. And if you want extraordinary results in your life, perhaps it is time to do the same. What are you tolerating today that is draining your energy? What habits are keeping you from the life you want? Are you living like a warrior or a prisoner of your own impulses? Musashi's self-discipline was not born of comfort. It was forged in hardship, and it is precisely in your most difficult moments that you can begin to build yours. But don't worry, this doesn't mean becoming a monk or abandoning everything. It means going back to the basics, as he did, and that's exactly what we're going to. Understand now how to apply the principles of his discipline in a world that lives in chaos. Chapter 3. The Great Modern Enemy, Distraction and Procrastination. Musashi faced enemies armed with sharp swords, but perhaps the most dangerous opponents he would face today would be wearing comfortable clothes, sitting on the couch with a cell phone in hand. We live in an age of distraction, a time where the problem is not a lack of information, but rather an excess of it. News, short videos, notifications, updates, comparisons. It's a constant bombardment, and faced with this, the mind weakens, not for lack of capacity, but for lack of silence. Musashi understood the value of attention as a warrior understands the value of life. Every second of distraction on the battlefield could be fatal, and although the battlefield has changed today, the consequence remains the same. To lose focus is to die slowly, not physically, but in what matters most: your goals, your dreams, your mental clarity. Procrastination in this scenario has become almost a way of life. We put off what we know is important. Why? Because it's easier, more comfortable. But Musashi never sought comfort. He sought mastery. Mastery over the environment, but most importantly, mastery over himself. And that's the point. The biggest fight of your life won't be against other people. It will be against your own willingness to procrastinate, against your tendency to give in to momentary pleasure and neglect long-term purpose. When Musashi trained, he did not rely on motivation. He trained consistently, even when his body ached, even when the weather was adverse, even when no one was watching. This consistency is what is lacking today. The problem is not watching videos or using social media. The problem is losing control over when and how this happens. It is allowing the algorithm to dictate your schedule, your mood, your priorities. It is living on autopilot, waking up already distracted and going to sleep without having done anything that really matters. You don't have to fight with swords to be a warrior. Today, resisting the addiction to distraction is already an act of courage, and starting to do what needs to be done, even if it's little by little, is an act of discipline. Imagine Musashi with a cell phone. Do you think he would spend hours watching random videos while his goals rot in the drawer? Or do you think he would silence everything, organize his rituals and get moving? That's the question you need to answer, because your life is being shaped day after day by small habits. And if you keep getting carried away by distraction, no matter how big you dream, nothing will ever come true. The first step to regaining your self-discipline is to face this enemy head-on. Identify what distracts you, recognize what you've been putting off, and start changing, even if it's slowly. And now, I want to hear from you. What's the biggest distraction or procrastination that's keeping you from your goals today? Let us know in the comments. When you write, you commit, and that can be your first act of discipline. Next, we'll break down the 4 fundamental principles of self-discipline according to Musashi's teachings. They are the ones that sustained his inner strength, and they can sustain yours too if applied truthfully. Chapter 4. The 4 Essential Principles of Self-Discipline. According to Musashi, now that you understand what's holding you back, distraction, procrastination, overstimulation, it's time to learn how Musashi built his inner strength, and it was based on 4 fundamental principles that he lived by every day. These pillars aren't just pretty ideas. They're brutally simple and powerfully effective. 1. Accept full responsibility. Musashi didn't blame anyone. If he missed a blow, it was because he was unprepared. If he felt anger, it was a sign of imbalance. For him, every emotion, every mistake, every result was a direct reflection of his internal state. In the modern world, it is common to blame the system, others, time, the algorithm, fatigue. But as long as you are outsourcing the blame, you will continue to outsource the control as well. Self-discipline begins when you take 100% responsibility for your life. Not 98%, not 99%, 100. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means accepting that even when something isn't your fault, it's still your responsibility how you react, learn, and move forward. Musashi wrote, "Never rely on emotion to make decisions. The mind needs to be the captain, the body, the ship. And if you want to be the commander of your journey, you need to stop pointing fingers and start looking at yourself with truth." 2. Practice consistency over intensity. Musashi didn't become famous for one epic fight. He became famous for never losing. And this was only possible because he trained every day, without stopping, without depending on motivation, without seeking peaks of performance. Nowadays, many people want everything fast. They train for a week and give up. They start a project and change their mind the following month. They are always looking for intensity, but they forget about consistency, which is where real results lie. You don't have to give 100% every day. You have to give the best you can with what you have, every day. Musashi understood that discipline is not about bursts of effort. It is about ritual. It is about getting up and doing what needs to be done. He said, "Train like you're in war, because at some point you will be. And in the real world, this war can be a difficult day, an emotional crisis, an unexpected challenge. Those who are constant do not fall apart. Those who live intensely fall apart." 3. Master your time and energy. Musashi knew exactly where he put his attention. He eliminated all noise. He slept little, ate enough, spoke only when necessary. Everything in his routine existed to serve his purpose. And this is, perhaps, one of his greatest lessons for today. Protecting your time as a sacred asset. How many times have you wasted hours on things that don't get you anywhere? How many times have you woken up with a clear plan and gone to sleep without having done anything that matters? You won't develop discipline if you don't know where you're putting your energy. Musashi organized his life around his mission. What about you? Does your schedule reflect what you say you want? If someone were to look at your day-to-day life, would they be able to guess your dreams? Disciplining yourself means cutting out the excess. It means saying no to everything that doesn't serve your path. And there is no self-discipline without clear priorities. You can't be good at everything, but you can be excellent at what matters. 4. Simplify your life. Musashi was a master of simplicity. He walked with little. He lived in modest places. He avoided distractions and empty conversations. His mind was clear because his life was light. We live surrounded by excesses, information, commitments, desires, and the more things we want to do, the more we get lost along the way. Simplicity is the twin sister of discipline, because only those who are not burdened with things they don't need to carry can stay focused. Simplifying means choosing the essential. It means leaving aside vanity, perfectionism, and the rush to want everything now. It means stopping trying to do 1,000 things at once and starting to do a few things with mastery. Musashi said, "Seek nothing beyond what is necessary." And this phrase can be a compass in today's times. The more you clean up your life, the more space you create for what really matters to flourish. These 4 principles aren't just strategies, they're a way of life, and the truth is, they work, but only for those who truly live them. Now, if this chapter impacted you in any way, leave a like right now. This shows that you are committed to evolving and helps us reach more people who, like you, are seeking to be better every day. In the next chapter, we'll translate all of this into a practical plan. It's time to apply Musashi's principles, even in a noisy, fast-paced world. Chapter 5. How to apply Musashi's teachings. Today, so far, you have understood how Musashi lived, thought, and won through self-discipline. But the question that really matters now is, how can you apply all this to your real life today? The good news is that you don't have to be a samurai or live in isolation on a mountaintop. You just need to start with small adjustments, done consistently and clearly. Step 1. Choose a core purpose. Musashi lived for mastery. Everything in his life revolved around it. You don't need to have a grand answer right now, but you do need a clear focus. Choose an essential goal. It could be finishing a degree, changing careers, improving your physique, writing a book. Whatever it is, choose it. Discipline only makes sense when it serves something greater. Without purpose, everything becomes an empty sacrifice. With purpose, even effort becomes more flavorful. Step 2. Create a daily discipline ritual. It's not about doing a lot, it's about doing it all the time. Musashi trained every day. You can too. Adapt it to your reality. Establish a fixed ritual. It could be 30 minutes a day dedicated to your main focus. What matters is repetition. The brain loves patterns. Create one. If you're going to study, same place, same time. If you are going to train, same ritual, same type of effort. If you are going to create, same environment, same layout. Self-discipline is born from the predictability of habit. Step 3. Eliminate distractions with strategic aggression. Musashi cut away what was no longer useful, literally. In your case, you may need to cut more gently, but with the same determination. Audit your digital and physical environment. What apps do you use unnecessarily? What habits are stealing your time and focus? What compromises do you accept just to please? Cut without guilt. Protecting your focus is protecting your mission. Step 4. Train your mind like a muscle. Musashi didn't just train the body, he trained the mind. Meditation, silence, reading, writing, all of these strengthened his inner clarity. You don't have to do it all at once, but start. Meditate 5 minutes a day. Write about your thoughts. Read something that raises your mental standard. A disciplined mind begins when you decide to stop feeding yourself mental junk. Step 5. Start small, but start today. Musashi did not become a master overnight. It took years of repetition, frustration, and gradual advancement. Don't wait for perfect timing, perfect tools, or perfect energy. Start with what you have, with what you can, as you can. A habit, a commitment, a gesture of courage. Because the most important thing about self-discipline is that it is built with action, not with thought. You don't have to become a stoic, cold version of yourself. The idea here is to take control of your life little by little, taking charge of where your energy is going. This is how Musashi lived. This is how you can live too. And in the next chapter, you will see that this is not just theory. Ordinary people, like you and me, are already applying this and completely transforming their lives. Real, simple, and powerful stories that show that yes, it is possible. Chapter 6. Inspiring Stories. Musashi in Everyday Life. Musashi's teachings do not belong only to ancient books or to the distant past of feudal Japan. They live on and live strong in the actions of ordinary people who chose to take control of their own lives. And to prove it, here are 3 short stories. None of these names are in the history books, but they all carry the spirit of the disciplined warrior. 1. Pedro, the warrior of fatigue. Pedro is 27 years old. He works 2 jobs and always felt like he didn't have time for anything. When he learned about Musashi's principles, he realized it wasn't a lack of time, it was a lack of priorities. He chose to wake up an hour earlier every day to study for a public exam. No excuses, no motivation, just discipline. 6 months later, he passed the first phase. One detail, he still works both jobs, but now with purpose and control. 2. Carla, the simplicity strategist. Carla is a designer. Living under pressure from deadlines, clients, and social media, she reached the point of exhaustion. She decided to follow one of Musashi's principles. Eliminate everything that is not essential. He unfollowed 80% of the accounts he used to consume, reduced his commitments, and structured his routine with focus blocks. Today, he works fewer hours and is more productive. She says she didn't change her life overnight, but she changed her relationship with time, and that changed everything. 3. Raphael, the apprentice of constancy. Raphael always started things and stopped halfway through. Training, courses, reading, nothing went to the end. After reading about Musashi, he decided to test a principle: constancy over intensity. He chose to do 10 minutes of activity a day, without fail. That's it. 2 years later, he has lost 18 kilo, completed 3 courses, and says that his greatest victory was not his physique or the certificates. It was proving to himself that he finishes what he starts. These stories aren't about perfection. They're about ordinary people who stopped sabotaging themselves and started acting like Musashi, with focus, simplicity, and repetition. And now I ask you, what will your story be? What will you do from today that in 6 months will be a source of pride? Write in the comments a decision you are going to make right now. It could be something simple like waking up 30 minutes earlier, cutting out a useless habit, or studying for 20 minutes a day. But write it down, because those who declare, commit, and those who commit, build. Musashi won more than 60 duels, but his true victory was not over other swordsmen. It was over himself. He mastered his impulses, organized his life around purpose, and cultivated a discipline that did not depend on motivation, praise, or reward. And what he left us was not just a legacy of technique, but a map of inner strength, applicable in any era, including now. The life you want to build, more focused, stronger, more consistent, doesn't require rare talent. It requires determination. And as you've seen so far, self-discipline isn't a suit of armor you put on overnight. It's something you build one small gesture at a time, with clarity, simplicity, and repetition. You don't have to start with giant steps. You have to start with one, and you have to decide that you're going to keep walking, even when no one is watching. Musashi said, "Respect the path." And if you've come this far, perhaps this is your first real step on this path of self-mastery. Starting today, you can choose to live differently, with more presence, with more focus, with more strength. And if this message made sense to you, subscribe to the channel now. Here you will find content that not only informs you, but challenges you to grow, evolve, and become someone who lives with intention. You are not alone, and this journey is just beginning.